Good evening, friends. What a joy to be sharing these teachings of Swamiji, on this platform, and I hope you're enjoying it too. So, this is the reading from Kriyanandaji's book Living Wisely, Living Well for May 16th. Every time you inhale, which is, let's say, just now, every time you inhale, imagine yourself inhaling energy. Pranayam, a yoga practice, means not only breath control but control of energy. As air fills your lungs, feel your entire being, body, mind, feelings, aspirations, swelling with energy and joy. Isn't this wonderful? That it's such a simple tool. And on one level, many times when we do yoga classes, I'm also a doctor, and interacting especially with new audiences, making people realize that the breath is a powerful tool. It can help change our consciousness, our energy level. Sometimes they say, oh, this is a bit too simple. I've heard this one before, pranayama, yes. But friends, like Swamiji is explaining over here, it is extremely central to what we do. So I think, especially for those of us who perhaps have this as a daily practice, pranayam, let's say a technique in our meditation, and today I'll share some of the pranayams that Yoganandaji and Swamiji said we can do when we are walking, when we are sitting, let's say when you are having free time and you're trying to elevate your physical and mental energy reserve. So I'll be sharing those, but the question for some of us is not knowing it. It is a matter of practice. Are we able to use this tool, use this weapon, just when we need it the most? For example, I'll start with this, you might say, end of the spectrum. You fall into a bad mood, or you get into an anger tantrum, or it is one of those days where a lot needs to be accomplished. It's your priority, you're enthusiastic about it. But you're the only one who's enthusiastic. Circumstances turn out like that. That is you might say on one level, the beauty of life, that no one else is, perhaps supporting you. We often say, oh, I'm alone in this. But again, how can we remember and not forget that, oh, this is a tool I have. I can fill my body, I can fill my mind, fill my aspirations, my thinking, my feelings. Instead of allowing them to go here and there is a tool I have by which I can control it. And many times of late when I've been doing these workshops, classes for yoga and meditation, I share this. We get stressed, even on the spiritual path. Actually, this afternoon somebody was asking me, what do you do when you get stressed? I said, I go to sleep. It's of course it is not the highest way to escape or overcome it, but sometimes it does help. Of course, when we do yoga, meditation, there are ways in which we can totally, Swami says, change our level of consciousness. So we are not dealing with the problem on its level, but coming from a whole different level. Prayer is such a thing, depending on the grace of a master. But today, let's keep it practical to this tool of breathing. What do you do when you're stressed? Why are we stressed? There could be family challenges, there could be challenges at work, there could be, as one would say spiritually, a difficult phase of one's life. But friends, what is that one thing that we can change? What is the one thing that you and I have, shall I say, in our very hands? Something we can really control. It is not our siblings, it is not our spouse, it is not our colleagues at work, it is not even the environment, it is not how the day will pan out between your home to your office. It is not even our karma on one level. We are in control. Pranayama means energy control. We gradually gain control. But the one thing which we can control, I've come to realize, and that's why Swami used to say, and Master told him, he said, as you share the teachings, one of the benefits is we get deeper understanding ourselves. The one thing we can choose to control and can succeed 100% is ourselves. And that is where this gift of pranayam really bears fruit for you and me. And to that degree, for everybody else. Now, Swami's talking about controlling the breath, feeling this uprising current. There's this very word, inspiration, means in Hindi it would mean prerna. But inspiration, I'm seeking inspiration in life. Somebody asked, Master, can inspiration, creativity, solutions be drawn at will? And he said, oh yes, in a single breath. Again, how important is the breath? I know of one of our acharyas who said that he would often take one breath if he liked the idea, if it was sane, nothing, if he liked the general direction of the idea. He said, I would not waste too much time in saying yes. As Sister Gyana Mata said, say yes and make it snappy. And what was his mantra? He said, before I would exhale, which is, you might say, during the inhalation or right after, he would say yes. If somebody asked for help, or say, can you do this? Shall we do this? What do you think about it? So think about it. Let's say right now somebody comes to ask something of you at work and such. And you say yes. How dramatic is that? And it's now, saying yes is, you would say, the easy part. Master would say, if the idea is good, say yes first, and then see how you can do it. But friends, when somebody asked Yogananda Ji, is it possible to find a solution by will? Can we attract those things? When he was saying yes, he also meant not just we can say yes and it's wishful thinking. He was saying you elevate your consciousness, you elevate your energy level. Greater the will, willingness, willpower, greater is the flow of energy, Yogananda Ji taught. Greater is the flow of energy, greater is our magnetism. And many times when we use this principle, of raising our energy using the breath, we find that solutions come just in that moment. Kriyananda Ji said again and again it happened with him. People would ask him something and he would say, I don't know the answer to that. But he was very willing in that moment to help people, because he was their guide. And he said, the moment I would relax in that realization that I want to help, but I don't know how, he said it would strike him, that solution would come to him. I want to share two practical, now like I said, we know this is working, but the key is how to apply it. Many times we think, it's too simple. I remember once I was alone in emergency hospital, that's where I would work, and we were 4 doctors, each would have a 6 to 8 hour shift. So at any given point, you were the only doctor in charge over there. And once, I would meditate in my free time. And some nurses were seeing me meditate, and they said, sir, why do you meditate? Every day we see you meditate a little bit. Does it really do anything good? And I said, oh yes, it can help us be in control and more calm when patients come. So I taught them, 3 of them, how to sit and meditate. And I said, right now everything is peaceful, so you won't feel the effect. But I said, if you slowly do it, you will see suddenly, subconsciously, it almost happens naturally without you applying it. Because see, when you're dealing with a challenge, you're focused on that challenge. And it has to almost, shall I say, become a habit inside of us, this way of breathing or way of energy control, that later you look and say, oh, I'm so proud that I handled it in a certain nice way. So I was teaching them this, and just like 20, 30 minutes later, an accident case came. It was a head injury. And we had to be very busy for 2 hours. And they said later that, sir, just somewhere subconsciously knowing that we have a tool. And one of them said, I was again and again breathing deeply to keep the energy up, helped me. But I was trying to share another story from my emergency time in the department. This was when an elderly lady was brought. She was unconscious. And about 15 people from the family came, and they were very emotional. And I have to say a little bit over here, that particular day it was the ladies who had come. They were so emotional. They were crying, they were howling, and one person was so emotional, so they would even forget the patient, and the attention was going on this person, and because she would break down, everybody else was crying, and this was not helping me get the answers I needed for the patient. And at some point I said, please don't, just 1 or 2 of you can stay here. Others should go. But this got into such a spiral, that just 2 minutes later, one of those ladies fainted herself. So suddenly I had 2 patients, one elderly and one middle-aged woman. And the moment this lady fainted, the moment she fainted, The little girls started crying even more. What happened to their mom? Believe me, just 1 minute later, one of those girls fainted. Now, I was the only doctor, three patients, all from the same family, and by now they were turning here and there. Unfortunately, they were recognizing the need for what I was saying, that calm down, please wait outside. But they were all over there. Of course, in half an hour, 35 minutes, they went back home. But the way we breathe, the way we can, Swami is talking here about, infuse our being, our body, our mind, our feelings, our emotions. If we can control them using a breath, and that day, did I have to breathe deeply? Did I have to keep myself calm? Oh, yes, that helps tide these situations. And it also induces, when you are calm, in the beginning, it may be challenging, if somebody else is not. But again, it's not about this deep breathing. In the beginning, we practice that, but it's like a muscle. You're developing it, and once it is developed, then it can be put to use in so many different ways, and it helps situations much more than people realize. I remember another time when I looked back, and this was the tool I used for the emergency. This was again, I had signed up to serve in a remote hospital in Bihar, and I had told them I know some skills of surgery, I have assisted cesarean sections, so I said I'm willing to help and learn more. So they showed me my room when I reached there and the phone, and they said, when this rings, it would be probably mean a call from the theater, and you can go and help there. I said, wonderful. So 11 p.m. the first night I was there, the phone rang. They said there's a patient for cesarean section. She's ready. We are moving her into the theater. Can you come? I said, oh yes, I'll be there. And 2 minutes later I was there. I was washing, changing, getting ready in my robes. And when I was ready, I was looking at everybody else. And they were looking at me very quietly. And then I said, are we ready? They said, yes. Are you ready? I said, I'm ready. Where's the surgeon? They said, you're the surgeon? What do you mean? I said, I'm the assisting surgeon, not the main one. And they said, they started looking at each other, and I realized very quickly what was happening. I had assisted cesarean sections till that point, never done one on my own. And they said the surgeon is half an hour away or something, and this had to be dealt with in minutes. One of the nurses said, sir, are you doing this for the first time? I said, oh yes. Assistants are on that side of the table. I said, from this side, I'll be doing it for the first time. I, of course, knew the steps, and I had mentally stepped up in this brief moment. She said, I have been assisting people for 20 years. You can do this. I'll help you. And I said, wonderful. It was quite comforting to know that assurance was very comforting. And we started the procedure very quickly. The baby was out. I handed over the baby. But in that brief moment, there was some blood over there, which gathers during the procedure. And, seeing it from that side of the table versus this side makes some sort of a difference in your, visuals. And I just asked the sister, I said, where is this blood coming from? It's a lot of blood. And she was in panic mode for whatever reason. And she said, I don't know where this is coming from. I was not paying attention. I was looking at the baby and such. And, I knew in that moment that I can handle this and I have to. There is nobody else over here. And I remember closing my eyes, taking this one deep breath, and then, bringing the smile on my face. I said, okay, give me a hot mop. And everything worked out, It's like we have this, like again, Swamiji, he would say the answer is there. But if you're meeting it on that problem, on the level of the problem, he said, it won't happen. It doesn't happen that way. He said, you have to lift your energy, you have to enter super consciousness. And that's why, friends, this may seem simple, and we all do it subconsciously. Whenever a challenge comes, you gather the breath and to face it. But again, to use it more consciously. When, like Swami once said, when he was in a mood, to not continue over there, to not find the fault with our environment, to not find the fault with people, but to say, okay, how can I infuse a positive step over here? So that is how important this is to bring it about. Now, what are the ways, different ways in which we can do this? First is, of course, Swami is suggesting over there pranayam, a breath control. When we do pranayam, we are withdrawing the energy, from the surroundings into ourselves. It helps uplift our feelings. But pranayam is not just what we do in meditation. It gives us a deeper experience, spiritual, emotionally, we come out better. But more than that, and of course, it has many physical health benefits. People say, look at him, he's so healthy, she's so healthy, because they are practicing a pranayam. Because what really happens, as Master has explained, he said, when you're taking a deep breath, he says energy is coming in from the medulla oblongata. And he said that prana, overall it goes into the brain, it goes into the spine, through the spine and the nerves, it comes to every body cell. And I would like to read a few lines from his Health and Vitality book, how he's saying deep breathing and being in sunshine can help us. But even more important is understanding this fact that it is in our control. Now, before we come to the physical aspect, spiritually, we speak of the Kundalini energy. We say we want to control. They say it's a lot of energy over there. The energy which is not only coming into our spine from the cosmos, but already which is locked. It's called the Kundalini energy, the serpent energy at the base of the spine. And Master said that in order to uplift that energy, not only do we need techniques, he said, but our attitudes are also extremely important. Also, friends, I want to bring it to our attention how much energy, prana, sometimes if we don't have an experience of it, Master has taught techniques. He said you can feel it under the flesh as a tingling sensation of energy. You can feel it especially on days when the body and the stomach is a bit light, when you are meditating and you can try to tune into how a single breath is bringing more energy. And that awareness is important on one level, because as we become aware, we can bring in more and experience it. And based on that experience, our faith is also developing. So we bring that energy. But once I was thinking, I've shared this in past satsangs, that you and I, for me it was 36 years ago, that's my age, and some months, I was a single invisible cell in my mother's womb, single cell. How did that one cell become something like 30 trillion, which the scientists tell us our body is composed of? Not only are they beautifully differentiated into different systems, bones, blood, muscles, nerves, and such, but they have their function, and 30 trillion, not just to reach the point, but moment by moment they are being sustained, they are being replenished. Old ones are going, our blood changes every 120 days, our bones, which we think are way inside over there and perhaps are never ever changing, every 2 years the entire skeletal system changes. And one day, as I was reflecting on how much the body is at work, how much each cell is like our entire body. It eats, it has excretion, it has resting periods, it has periods when it can undergo 3.3 million reactions simultaneously. When you wonder how much intelligence is going on physically, we know these things, then it is easy to take the word of the masters who say that truly infinite amount of energy is entering, prana is entering, and Master said beneath the physical reality always there is energy, behind which is thought and consciousness. But again, I just wanted us to reflect on why not just to have, again, as Swami saying, breath control. This is a principle all movies have. If you're injured, if you have to live, what do they tell? Friends tell each other, take a few deep breaths, keep breathing, we are almost there. So everyone knows this principle, but if our awareness shifts from physical breath and oxygen to prana, and we start, shall I say, developing a friendship or familiarity. Master said energy is one of the 8 aspects of the divine. He said it should be approached with deep reverence, and that's why keeping the body still, free from physical tensions, helps us experience that prana. Coming back to the Kundalini energy, it is also energy. We want to ultimately learn how to control it. Energy, the interesting thing is, not just if our energy is high, often our emotions, our attitudes are uplifted and on the positive side. And when the energy goes low, people say, I'm not feeling so low, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling low and downcast and such. But friends, if we have so much energy inside of us, Master says one or two main determining factors which control the Kundalini. One, he said, is the heart. And secondly, he said, is the ego. That these are, shall I say, if we have studied chakras, they are gateways that come. And if we can be aware of these, not just specific attitudes, but these gateways, we can, I think, be in the energy awareness longer and longer in our non-meditative hours also. For example, if the heart, consciously keeping the heart open. Swami says if somebody does not understand you, if something is not well, he says don't close your heart. Consciously in those moments, keep it open till it is not affecting you anymore. Similarly, ego. Is the ego linked to the breath? I was so happy one day to listen to a discourse of one of our acharyas who was saying the ego. Now, it is a common teaching of our path, but sometimes it does not come to our attention. He said the ego is directly linked to the breath. And that's why if somebody says something to us which is quite sharp and it hurts our ego, our breath becomes very irregular. Or if our life is threatened, which is the sense of I, the ego, which is over here, we get very tight. And again, Master is saying that if you can not think of yourself so personally, not take things personally, but think of others. If you can be selfless, he said it'll be like you are always in that flow of higher energy. And that is why caretakers, mothers, shall I say, anybody, friends, in a group of friends, those who are taking care of others and thinking of others are never out of energy. Whereas some people who start the day, oh, what about me? Their emotions, their feelings are hardly a trickle of the, what they can really be. So again, that Kundalini energy, yes, pranayam techniques, Kriya Yoga can help us uplift it, burn that energy, karma, and bring that energy up. But our attitudes also are very important. Just this week, a beautiful study came out, and if you will write to me, I'll be happy to share this, or you can go on the worldwide website called neuroscience.com. And on May 10th, they released a study which was done for the first time, that just by observing our breath, which we do during Hong Sau practice, or controlling the breath, which we do during pranayams. Master taught that we can do the triangular breathing, inhale, hold, and exhale. Or he said if you're walking and you want greater amounts of energy, you can inhale, hold the breath, exhale, and again hold for the same duration. You might say it's like a square. And he said these pranayams are important. And the study was saying that these two kinds of breathing patterns, one controlled, the other without a control, has been found to have a positive effect on a part of our brain which secretes something called noradrenaline. And noradrenaline is such a sensitive chemical in the body that hardly anything so far has been found to cause its optimum secretion. It is either very low when we try to control it, or it can exceed, and both are undesirable. But these two practices, again what Swamiji is saying, control the breath, control the energy, it has a very positive effect, science has now just found out, on our brain. And when the brain is happy, when we inhale through our nose, we can bring the energy to the spiritual eye, keep it over there. When we are aware of the breath in the nostrils, it's so easy to keep the energy and focus in the front part of the brain. Then not only the brain, but our emotions, our feelings, and also on one level our endocrine system, because the pituitary, the master gland, is in the brain, and it has quite an effect on other endocrine secretions. So that is linked also now to pranayam. So I want to read just a few lines from Master's teachings on health. This is from Glowing Health and Vitality, and his teachings on breathing. He says, while walking every day, slowly inhale counting 1 to 12. Hold the breath for 12 counts, then exhale while counting 1 to 12. Do this 24 times every time you go for a walk. This is from page 41 to 47. Every page has something about the breath. Then he says, when you are tired or hungry, take a sun bath. Inhale and exhale several times outdoors or near an open window, and your fatigue will be gone. People who perform breathing exercises always have shining, magnetic eyes. Then he goes on to say, the life force, prana, must be trained to draw energy from subtler sources. Oxygen and sunshine should have a very important place in people's lives, because of their direct energy producing quality. So let's apply this simple teaching of breathing deeply during our work, during challenging times. You can even set reminders, and let's benefit from this. Have a nice week ahead. Jai Guru.